That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Comic Reviews at a different angle that's actually just the old angle before I started doing live shows. I'm not used to doing this in the day, and my face was like really washed out on just one side. It looked really weird if I did it at my normal desk angle. This Comic Reviews episode is a day late. Sorry about that, but family plans meant Thanksgiving for me fell on Wednesday night. Anyway, I hope everyone is having a good Thanksgiving since this episode is being posted, streamed live at 1:04 on Thanksgiving Day, and you're probably spending your time with your families and loved ones instead of watching me. So that is to say, I'm very disappointed in you, and you should feel bad about yourselves. Leaving me alone here to stream with 0 people watching. Damn. It's cool. Shit happens. I didn't expect a big audience today, so I'm not really going to delay. We're just going to go ahead and get right into what we're talking about this week. We'll be starting with Sherlock Frankenstein, number 2. Followed by Invader Zim, number 25. Yeah, 25. Batman Beyond, number 14. Can't remember the issue numbers. Doomsday Clock, number 1. Wonder Woman, number 35. Etrigan the Demon, or just The Demon Hell on Earth, starring Etrigan, number 1 of 6. And for Trade Talk this week, we'll be discussing The Batman of Arkham. An old Elseworlds, very thin trade, but something I've had for the longest time and had never gotten around to, so I just figured, why not talk about it? Also, before I get started, just in case anyone does want to show up live, I'll show this off real quick. So, I've done a review of the completed story arc with Steve. I'll make sure to leave that in the description of the video. And I've done single issue reviews on this show as they came out. And I didn't love the button by any stretch of the imagination. What I did love is the lenticular cover, which is a very cool lenticular cover. And I was at my comic shop, and they had this, the deluxe edition of the trade, on sale for $10. And I just could not help myself. I cannot turn down something like that for $10. That is too cool. So yeah, I am weak, and I bought the trade of The Flash. Batman, The Flash, the button. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the first issue for today, which is Sherlock Frankenstein number 2. So this continues, what's her name? God, what's her name? Lucy Weber. Thank you. Let's continue Lucy Weber's investigation to what happened to her father and the other heroes of Spiral City and the world in their fight with Anti-God. And I'm trying to remember when the last issue of Black Hammer came out and I talked about it, because it feels like it's been a while since I talked about anything Black Hammer related. But in this issue, we get the origin of Cthulhu. CTHU-LOU. The Call of Cthulhu. And I actually quite like Cthulhu, just in imagery, and I like H.P. Lovecraft and all that stuff, to one degree or another. And so this is just some weird, trippy shit that would totally happen in a comic book. We get the origin of Cthulhu, who was a guy named Lou, who was a plumber, and he heard a voice calling his name, so he went to go investigate it, and fell down a trap and came face to face with Cthulhu, the master, and was told by this rat person that he needed a new Lou. So Lou the plumber would be it. Lou returned home to his nagging wife and threw up on the floor and cracked his head around and screamed at her with this, like, big, creepy face thing. You'll forgive me for continuing to look over here throughout the review, but that's where my monitor is, so I need to be able to see what I'm presenting to the camera. Dave Rubin does some really trippy ass art that's very terrifying. So that's really good. Like, I imagine it said something in the scripts like, oh, a terrifying image of Lou's head being twisted around and tentacles shooting out of his mouth was there. This does a really, really good job of conveying that, really horrific imagery. Like, look at the top section of panels there, as his head's, like, literally twisting around and he's, like, shouting at his wife. And then you get this just disgusting. His head explodes. So yeah, Lucy Weber is chasing down leads on how to find Sherlock Frankenstein, and she goes to the home of Cthulhu. And I don't know, this is a really good inversion of expectations for what the home of Cthulhu is like. Pretty normal house, all things considered. He's just sitting there drinking and smoking. Tentacles all about. So Lucy talks to him and finds out about his origin and everything about his life. I like that we just see the tentacles all doing different things for him at once. It's kind of cool. Finds out that her dad and he fought for a long time. Lou is a plumber, and so just every time we see the back of him, there's some plumber crack. That's pretty funny. I doubt that was in the script. That's probably just a nice touch by the artist. Also, one thing I really like about Cthulhu here, or Cthulhu, is the multiple eyes. If you look at H.P. Lovecraft's original sketch of Cthulhu and what he would look like, he had several eyes going back along the head, and most people don't draw it that way, so that was kind of a neat touch, character design-wise. So the big reveal that Lucy gets through this conversation is that her father, or that Sherlock Frankenstein, rather, was trying to call, like, a group of villains together while the heroes were fighting Anti-God, and she only gets, like, a brief, like, clue about one of the villains that was actually in the room, because Cthulhu was not. And so that gives her a lead to go off of. Also, we get some just adorableness as we see Cthulhuise, who is Cthulhu's daughter. She's an adorable little squid person. And Lucy Weber takes quite a liking to her and kind of feels bad that she has to deal with her mother, who's clearly ashamed of how Cthulhu works. I really like this touch right here of Dave Rubin having the tentacles be tied up behind her head with a bow like it's her hair. I think that's really, really neat. Yeah, just cool stuff. This is also a cool image of her as she's crying with all four of her eyes. I like that. So then Lucy goes back to the Hall of Hammer that her father left for her, and she finds that it's been broken into, and she's shocked by that. But then she's more shocked by the fact that someone's still there and tells her she'll regret ever looking into Sherlock Frankenstein. So, you know, I'm definitely getting more into the mystery of what's going on here. I'm definitely wondering what's going to happen. I will say, knowing what we know about Sherlock Frankenstein, if you're reading Black Hammer, that he is in a relationship with Golden Gale, and that in the first issue we were revealed that, you know, the last time anyone saw Sherlock Frankenstein was when he was walking toward the battle with Antigod, getting this revelation that he was compiling a group of villains before he apparently went to go do that. I'm reasonably confident that Lucy is wrong, because Lucy is wondering, oh, is he planning to attack the heroes of Spiral City while they were fighting Antigod? No. I'm pretty sure that what will be revealed about Sherlock Frankenstein is that he was in love with Golden Gale and was trying to, you know, get the people, villains or not, that had power to help fight against Antigod, and he was probably going himself to help in the fight in some way, shape, or form. So I'm pretty sure that's the reveal we'll get. It'll be interesting nonetheless, though, because I like this world that it's building from the world of Black Hammer. Like, we have a lot of things, characters that are cursed and become villains or good guys. You know, it's kind of an Etrigan the Demon take on things with Cthulhu, but he's just like a normal Joe, and that's kind of cool. I like it. It's just cool. It's entertaining. Dave Rubin, I'm definitely conflicted on as an artist. He does some stuff that I really like and some stuff that I just don't quite care for. Like, I was talking about all the things I like with, like, the detail and the character design for the for Cthulhu, but then there's other stuff here that I'm just like, I don't really care for that. Like, something about the way he draws these older women just looks like, it doesn't look like natural or like I think what he's trying to do with this lady is like fat folds of the body, and that's certainly a real thing that happens. But just the way he's showing it there, that's not what that, like, looks like to me. That looks like she has, like, a really whack-ass six-pack or something. Like a flabby six-pack, I don't know. And then there's, like, this moment where, you know, we get the big... Like, I like this sequence of panels, but, like, I don't like the way that Lou's wife's boobs look there. You know, it's just so... That's such an unnatural movement for that, so I really don't care for that. Otherwise, though, I like a lot of this. It's definitely varying levels of exaggeration with the art. But it is still pretty good overall. There's much more to like than to pick on, I'd say. Yeah. Alright, let's go ahead and move on. And talk about Invader Zim, number 25. So, last issue, we found out who Virus was, who's apparently like this big rich guy. And we, in this issue, we explore what his motivations for contacting Zim are. So we start with a flashback to Zim's early days as an Urkin invader, and how he gigabombed the fuck out of something that he was just supposed to create a distraction for. And Virus was apparently a big fan of that, but has not been a fan of Zim's work since he arrived on Earth. and he is very critical. So what he wants to do is replace Zim, take over his body, and thus conquer Earth in a cool, classic Zim kind of way. And so Zim has to possess a chair and fight him and try to get his body back, which he ultimately does, saying, "I am Zim again," and defeats the Virus guy, and the day is saved so that he can go back to Earth and conquer it with a giant antimatter space hippo. Yeah, cool, fine. It's definitely written like a Zim story. I just don't know how much I have to say about it in regards to just being Invader Zim. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, it's Invader Zim style story. It's got that kind of like not anticlimactic. That's what I want here. Reversal of expectations, souring kind of thing. A lot of the endings have, you know, the wedding, is reminiscent here. It's just an okay story. Don't even have a ton to say about the art. The artist on this one, Warren Wvcinich, I think is the name. Warren W-V or W-U-C-I-N-I-C-H. Does a lot of these like long panels that have, you know, multiple things happening in them, and I kind of like that. He did another one toward the very beginning. Really long panel. It takes up the whole bottom of the page and it's just very thin. It's cool. Looks good. Again, a lot of these long, thin panels for the flashbacks, which is nice because it gives it a bit of a different feel than the main story, though that doesn't entirely hold true by the time we get to some of the other stuff. So, I don't know, it's not traditional, strictly speaking, panel layouts, but it's interesting. I like these two 9-panel grids here. One is this guy downloads his brain into Zim's body, and one is Zim downloads his brain into a chair. Meh. Just okay, I guess. Not a ton to say about it, so I'm not gonna dwell. Let's go ahead and go on to Batman Beyond, number 14. Home Sweet Home? ? So in this story, the Royal Flush Gang is trying to draw out Batman, while Terry, Matt, and Bruce get back to the manor. Bruce being seriously injured from their whole brouhaha in the mountains. Needs someone to take care of him, so Matt and Terry have moved into the mansion. A lot of references in this issue. I like this panel up top here because we got the Shakespeare bust, which is the 60s entrance to the Batcave. Then we go down to the Batcave and we got the tail end of the 60s Batmobile, which is cool. Anyway, so Terry decides that he will return to being Batman full-time, all that stuff. Bruce has rebuilt the costume somewhere along the way. And we start getting, like, all these looks at different Robin costumes just in the background, as a discussion opens up about whether or not Matt can be Robin. Meanwhile, the Royal Flush Gang decides they need to take more drastic measures to draw out Batman. Terry goes to meet up with Dana, and see if they can try again now that she knows the truth, and he can still be Batman and all that stuff. Barbara Gordon does some stuff. And again, more references. We got the Red Robin costume, the Signal, I think that's what Duke's called now, isn't it? And this is weird because, like, as Matt is looking at this case of Robin costumes, he says, so that's Damien's costume. Or that was Damien's costume. Well, no. None of those are Damien's costume. Even a little bit. So that's kind of weird. And then the extra weird part is Matt starts going deeper into the cave, and then he actually finds Damien's costume. But yeah, the notion here is that Matt will become Robin for Terry's Batman. That's kind of cool. I like the Robin cycle here, how it's actually got the R as part of the frame. That's neat. Not a huge fan of the art here. There's a lot of... This is a very Kirby-inspired kind of feel. A lot of square-jawed, a lot of minimalist lines. A lot of times characters don't even have eyes. They just have the shadows of the sockets. I'm not a huge fan of that. Like, I like Kirby for his environments. I don't like Kirby for his people. And this kind of has a lot of the similar problems. I'm liking some of the environments and the futuristic look of a lot of this stuff. It definitely works better with the minimalism of bringing back the original Batman Beyond costume. But I don't care for the way that the people are drawn here, and I'd rather have good-looking people. The bat signal gets lit up. I'm not sure what that's from. Like, if it's it's on just the side of a building. Is that like the Royal Flush Gang turned it on, or is that somehow part of the city now? Is that added? I'm so confused. Anyways, the Royal Flush Gang is causing problems, and Bruce delivers a modified, updated suit to Terry in the middle of him and Dana's afterglow. So, you got that going for you. And Terry puts on the suit and goes to fight the Royal Flush Gang, and I will say, the art looks really good for the Batman Beyond costume with, multiple levels of shading and stuff in a comic. It's got a good feel for the minimalism of the costume, which is nice. And it definitely looks good in action, I'll give it that. Only panel I don't like of the costume is this one on the bottom here. I just think that something about the face looks kind of awkward. Anyway, so he's fighting the Royal Flush Gang again, and Bruce tells him not to let Ace get a hold of him, but Ace gets a hold of him, and then we get a throwback to Nightfall as Terry looks like he's getting his back broken on Ace. So he gets his back broken on Ace, and Matt and Bruce are watching the whole encounter, and Matt's like, look out behind you! Terry! Oops, sorry, comic book. Terry! And then he gets his back broken. It seems pretty apparent that Matt's going to become Robin. Someone hired the Royal Flush Gang to draw Batman out, and with an ending like that, you kind of think it might be Bane, which is weird since we already had Bane show up in one episode of Batman Beyond, and he'd completely destroyed his body by doing Venom for years in that continuity. We'll just see what happens, I guess. I don't really know what else to make of it beyond that. Ugh! Tired. I'm being told in the live comments that Terry finally ditched that shitty costume design. I like the new costume. I don't care what anyone says. But new artist, so new direction, I guess. As far as the design goes. It did look like it was meant to be temporary. They kind of hinted at the AI being a problem with that suit for quite a while before they did anything. Anyway, nothing really to say about this. It's a fine story, that, like, just setting up where things are going. This one's called The Long Payback, so I'm assuming that's probably going to have something to do with Bane coming back to, or I don't know, it could not be Bane, it could be someone else, but Jurgens' whole pitch has seemed to be that he wants to do the, like, the thing that a lot of the whole point of Batman Beyond was not to do, which is to bring Bruce's villains into the future to deal with Terry, but looks like that's what we're doing, so whatever works, I guess. I could be wrong, who knows. Alright, here we go, folks. Let's move along and talk about Doomsday Clock. Number 1 of 12. Let me tell you something. I am not interested in reading any more issues of this. This was a $5 comic book, and in my opinion was just not worth it. I don't care why Rebirth is happening. I really, truly do not. I'm just glad that it did. Is all I really have come down to at this point. I just don't care that Rebirth is a thing. It just is now, and that's fine. We'll just go with that. I have no reason to care, to be honest with you. It's the New 52's direction was poor, and Rebirth's direction is good. I'm happy. But Doomsday Clock is going to be the thing that really describes it all. And so we've got Rorschach, who is not really the original Rorschach, criticizing the world. We've got the world becoming some kind of twisted mess after Adrian Veidt's gamble didn't work out. And Rorschach is working for Veidt, and he gets two villains together and brings them to Veidt, and that's happening, I guess. I will give John some credit. This is all done in 9-panel grids. He writes a good Rorschach voice and all that stuff. But Veidt's big plan is he wants to bring back God. He wants to bring Dr. Manhattan back so that he can solve all their problems. Veidt also has cancer because of what he did. And, yeah. That is our mission. All of us. We need to find John. And then we got to Superman dreaming about the night his parents crashed their pickup truck. And that's when they died. And I'm just like, I don't care. I didn't feel like this didn't feel like it was worth all the build up and the $5. Like, seriously, that's everything that happened. Is okay, Veidt's plan fucked up, the world found out, and is in complete chaos and is on the brink of annihilation again. Okay, so Veidt's new plan is to go find Dr. Manhattan, bring him back. Where is Dr. Manhattan? Fucking with the DC universe. Okay. Whatever works. I just don't care. I'm so not interested. That's all it comes down to. I don't find it compelling. I don't find it intriguing. I would almost prefer if we just didn't do anything with any of the DC character, or of the Watchmen characters besides Dr. Manhattan. Like his whole thing and John's, I can't tell if he quotes or if he uses the original panel in here. Who's doing the art again? Is it Gary Frank? Can't tell if Gary Frank quotes or just pulls the original panel, or if he redraws it. I'm leaving this galaxy for one less complicated. That panel, it's different colored, and it looks like it has a filter over it. I doubt that they would reuse the panel from scratch. They might have just pulled it. In any case, I don't know, I guess I would prefer if it was just Dr. Manhattan, if the Watchmen characters didn't have anything to do with it, but apparently they will, and okay, whatever. No interest. Just no interest for me. So I'm not picking this up anymore. I don't care why it's happened. I don't care why Rebirth happened. Rebirth happened. That's all that matters to me. They got a goddamn direction to go in now with the comics. The comics have been overall pretty good. We're just gonna keep going. Speaking of Rebirth being pretty good, this one isn't. Let's go on to Wonder Woman number 35, Times Past. The secret origin of Wonder Woman's brother. It's not a secret origin because you spent all of issue 34 having Jason explain his origin, and then betray Wonder Woman at the end of that issue. And in this issue, rather than moving forward with what kind of deal Jason made with Darkseid's daughter, Grail, whatever her name is, I don't care, she's not a Kirby character. Whatever deal he made with her, or going further to show how Wonder Woman's going to defeat the two of them, we get an entire issue that shows his origin that we already know about. In the last issue, he was like, yes, my father, we got a flashback of the Amazons giving baby Jason to this guy who was a crew member on the Argonaut, and then Jason telling us, yeah, he raised me, and then he called in Hercules to train me a few times over the years, and I've got these powers. In this issue, we show Jason being raised, dealing with his powers, and training with Hercules. This is the definition of useless. Terry in my live comment says, Wonder Woman hasn't been a main character in this book since Robinson came on board. That's a good fucking point. Wonder Woman has not done dick since Robinson came on board. I just don't understand DC's thinking right now by letting Robinson tell this kind of story where Wonder Woman is the daughter of Zeus again. We just had a 25-issue run by Greg Rucka telling us that Wonder Woman was not a daughter of Zeus, that it was all some kind of massive, weird lie that was concocted because of the conditions at which she felt leaving Themyscira. This just contradicts the hell out of that by having people able to visit Themyscira and just like hand things back and forth across the barrier. Well, okay. Can't be that hard to find. So yeah, it's an entire issue of just this character that no one is ever going to do anything with. once Robinson leaves the book. No one's going to touch Jason, I promise. No one is going to do anything with Wonder Woman's brother. I'll tell you, Robinson, you better kill him yourself, because whoever else touches the character is probably just going to do the same. At least you can put him down with your own level of respect. And then, like, the worst part of this issue is it doesn't even end with his origin. Which, again, we've already seen. Worst part of this issue is it ends with the cliffhanger of him about to fight the Deep Six, who are like sea monsters or some shit. That's it. That's. So we're gonna have to open the next issue with him fighting monsters, and then go back to the present. And what do you want to bet that more than half the issue is him back on, like, what do you want to bet more than half the issue is him in the past still? Got some live comments streaming in, 9 people watching. Hi, folks. Terry, Philip Kelton, hey Philip Kelton, Matthew Bennett, hey Matthew Bennett. Zorro Fan Productions, you should go back to the Zorro reviews. Hi, Zorro Fan Productions, glad I got someone here that appreciates Zorro. That's cool. I did actually get for my birthday a copy of Don McGregor's Zorro Mentazas, and that will be coming up on a future episode of Trade Talk, so stay tuned for that. I'll either talk about it I'll talk about it both live on this show and in Trade Talk at some point. Not sure, I just, it's been a couple weeks. I wanted to get some things between Zorro before I go back to it again. Got a couple of Batman things I want to talk about. Want to talk about some Sandman. So I'll get to it, though. Don't worry. Philip Kelton says the Deep Six are Apocalypse minions? Fuck if I know. Let's go ahead and go to the last single issue this week, which is Demon Hell on Earth. The Demon Hell on Earth. Etrigan returns. So I talked last week about how one of my issues just came open right in the middle. They didn't seem to be doing a good job binding the book. And then guess what happens this week? One of my staples came loose, and I'm losing my middle page here. That's not cool. You see, you gotta do a better job buying the book when I'm paying $3-4 for an issue. Now, I haven't been following Etrigan's and Jason Blood's continuity in the comics, like, literally ever. He's one of those characters, I pick him up on occasion. I don't, like, really... or I read stories that he appears in. I don't really go out and search for Etrigan books, but does anyone know, did Etrigan just stop doing the whole rhyming thing at a certain point? Because I'm disappointed by that, but not surprised. So in this issue, Jason Blood wakes up from a nightmare in which Etrigan is murdering a child. And then goes to drink, and Etrigan appears in the mirror before him and drinks his alcohol instead, mocking him, telling him that he won't be able to drown him out, and that it's been a long time since he's been out, so he's going to keep bothering Jason. They're in Death Valley at this point in time for some reason, because Jason feels drawn there by magic. I have no idea who this character is, but we've got this chick, seems also drawn to Death Valley, and beats up some rednecks. And we've got the family with the girl that we saw at the beginning in the nightmare. We're also heading on a vacation to Death Valley, so a lot of things are converging around Death Valley. And while Jason is out sitting in the sun drinking, something shoots through the sky, and he's not quite sure what it is. And the last minute, he realizes it's a nuclear missile. So Etrigan tells him to say the words. And it's a fucking atom bomb. I like the way that this is drawn, though. This is really cool how, like, it's got, you can see, like, a demonish face in the mushroom cloud. And Etrigan's telling him, say the words before the cloud hits us, or we both die. I might have a chance. And so Jason tries to get the words out. Gone, gone, O form of man. Arise the demon Etra. As he gets hit by the blast. It's terrifying. Anyway, we cut to a military base as they all try to figure out what the hell just happened, since it was supposed to be a non-nuclear test. And we see a guy who's a general sitting on the phone talking to his master, saying that his whole life he's done everything his master told him up until this moment. Now he needs to feel his embrace, and the master gives it to him through the phone, burning him alive. Anyway, it doesn't seem like it was just a nuclear missile. There's some kind of force or evil dimension that it's tapped into by exploding, and the girl's family was caught up in the blast and are now ash-ish monsters, but the girl has survived, and Etrigan is there to destroy the monsters. Where he does rhyme at this point, which is weird. But then something strange is going on, because who's there in Etrigan's vision but Jason Blood? Except Etrigan cannot attack him, because it appears Jason is now haunting Etrigan. So yeah, hell is being unleashed on Earth as a massive demon arm reaches out of the ground. I gotta say, the story kinda sorta interests me here. I picked this up because someone requested that I do so on Twitter. Ultimately, though, this is just... like, the story's just okay. I really quite like the art. I think the art is the best point on this. Like, I really love the evil face within the mushroom cloud. Like, you need to add more evil to a mushroom cloud. Otherwise, though, I don't know, I'm not, like, super impressed by this or anything. I like some of the stakes that they're playing with. Again, he sees the cloud approaching him and tries to get the poem out before it hits. And that's kind of neat. I don't know, it's a good setup issue, it's a good hook issue, I just don't know how hooked I am, you know? This might be something I'd like more in trade. You know, you ever get that feeling like you read the first issue and you're like, okay, this is alright, but I don't know how interested I am to read this monthly. But I think I would much prefer to read this just as a complete story. I'll say I think the art is the best sequence in this. This is also really cool. Like, I like Etrigan punching through one of these ash monster demon things, and like his hands on fire. You can see the smoke of the monster like spreading around and away from his hand. That's pretty cool. You know, it's a neat look. Yeah, I'll probably end up just waiting until this is out in trade, I think, rather than read it issue by issue. Since it's not it is monthly. Since it's not a ongoing, since it's a mini-series, just 6 issues, I'll probably just get this in trade and do a review then. Alright. Oh, who else we got? We got Grady Childs here. Zorro Fan Productions still here. Zorro Fan Productions also, we've done a couple episodes of Geeky Gentlemen on different Zorro things. Like, we just did, since we're in History Month right now, we did an episode on Zorro the Chronicles Season 1, so I recommend that for you as well. Anyway, let's go ahead and go on to Trade Talk. So I won't be interacting with the live audience as more and more you show up. Since this is the end of the show. But yeah, Trade Talk this week, I've got the Batman of Arkham, so I'll be talking about that. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Trade Talk. This week we're talking about the Batman of Arkham. This is by Alan Grant with art by Alcatena, Alcatena. No idea who that artist is. This is an old Elseworld story. I've had this for years, and I've seriously never read it. It's just been sitting in the back of one of my old comic long boxes, and I just never ever got around to sitting down and reading it. But I was looking for a trade to review. I got a stack of trades that I've maybe read in the past, the long past, and just never gotten around to, or trades that I just haven't read and thought I would make for a good episode of Trade Talk. And I figured I'd throw this on the stack. Now what you need to understand about me is I really, really like Arkham. Arkham and stories centered around Arkham are one of, if not my favorite things about the Batman mythos. I think Arkham has a character all to itself. And I find it really fascinating to read about Arkham. So when I saw the Batman of Arkham, I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. Wonder what this is going to be. And it's not particularly interesting or special or anything. It's like a weaker version of Gotham by Gaslight, but like not even. This is set in the 1900s, or the year 1900 rather. Bruce Wayne is the head of Arkham Asylum and is also Batman by night. But he's a very modern man when it comes to the treatment of the mentally ill. He's reading things like Freud, and he believes that the mentally ill can be helped, and so he's working with them. His contemporary, also working at the asylum, Dr. Jonathan Crane, does not believe this, and is actively, working to undermine him and just kind of wants to be a sadist and use fear. I like that just about every time we see Crane's shadow, it's the shadow of Scarecrow. So, yeah, that's seriously the story, is Bruce Wayne wants to cure the mentally ill, and Jonathan Crane wants to torment them. Meanwhile, there's a madman known as the Joker running around Gotham doing evil, and Batman goes to fight him once but gets Joker gassed. He manages to make it back to the asylum, but Bruce Wayne is cracking under the pressure of the Joker gas and gets locked up in his own asylum. Crane kind of takes over and just becomes a complete sadist and basically tries to torment everybody, undoes all of Bruce Wayne's work. But Bruce is able to pull through and fight the Joker gas and defeat the Joker, send him to Arkham, and reestablish control of the asylum by the end of it. And fire Jonathan Crane. That is such a weak story. That's just not what makes Arkham interesting. Like, it's got some cool imagery in it. Like, I like Bruce Wayne being tied up in a straitjacket inside of Arkham Asylum. That's cool. The artist does some really neat things with the paneling. Like, look at the border around that panel. The ghostish face, the just... It looks creepy. But a lot of the panels are laid out in a really weird fashion. Like, the gutters for a lot of the paneling lines have, like, this kind of ornate window kind of feel to them. Like, it looks like the frame of a window, I guess. It's got this cool elegance. Like, I like this panel of Batman getting Joker gassed, and it does a good job of showing some kind of separation from reality as he's kind of swimming in the smoke and the fumes and unable to control himself. That's cool. It looks cool. I like the costume. Looks inspired by the Golden Age outfit, you know, particularly in that panel. The art's probably the best thing about this book. I just wish it were a better story. It's just such a waste. The Batman of Arkham. You've got Bruce Wayne running the asylum. What's he like? What's it like to have someone who belongs in the asylum running the thing? There are interesting questions there. We don't do anything with it. It's just the Batman of Arkham. Yeah, it's just a Batman story, but instead of Bruce Wayne being the rich playboy that lives at Wayne Manor, he's a rich doctor that runs Arkham Asylum. But it doesn't even really matter that much to the overall story. The fact that he treats Killer Croc really well is what enables him to, you know, eventually get out of the asylum and save the day. But still, it's not enough to justify the premise. It's such a short book. I just feel like this is such a wasted idea. This is one of those things where there's like a lot of potential, but nothing really is done with it that's of much interest, and that's disappointing. Again, some really cool art. Like, I like the look of Two-Face here. I feel like, you know, this would be one of those things where if it were written and drawn by the same person, that would make a lot of sense, because it feels like a lot of this is just excuses to get some really cool imagery with, like, 19th century inspired, or no, 20th century inspired imagery related to Batman in it. Like, I like when Crane takes over the asylum, he kind of has the guards wear the whole cages on their faces thing. That's such a bizarre and specific image tied to early psychology and treatment of the mentally ill. So that's kind of cool, but it's just... I honestly cannot recommend anyone seek this out or spend their time reading it or their money to get it. This was originally $6 when it came out, and I don't even think it would be worth the $6. I don't even remember how much I paid for this. I got it so long ago. Definitely not more than $10, but I cannot recommend this on any level. It's just so not worth it to me. It's such a wasted opportunity, it feels like. Which is disappointing. What can you do? And that's weird. One sec. Give me 1 sec. I gotta go look at something. Because this will be coming up in a few... probably next week. I'll probably announce what I'm talking about next week with this Arkham 100-page spectacular that I found while going through that same comic box. Who's the writer? Denny O'Neil. Because this is like a collection of short stories that I'll be talking about next week. Alan Grant. This is so weird because Alan Grant has a really good grasp of what makes Arkham interesting, but it's so not what he's getting here. So this will be really interesting to talk about in respect to this one. So make sure to tune in next week, since Alan Grant, I feel like most of the time has a really good understanding of Arkham. I'm pretty sure the stories in this are older than the are newer than the Batman of Arkham. I have no idea when this came out. Let's see, a copyright date in here. 2000. Oof. This came out in 2000. What a waste. I'm pretty sure the stories in this are newer than this, though, so I feel like his understanding of what makes Arkham Asylum interesting evolved rapidly. But we'll get into it. Anyway, everyone, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Trade Talk. Make sure to tune in next week, where I'll be talking about Batman Arkham 100-page Spectacular. This one-shot that's just a bunch of reprints next week. Until then, see ya.